Welcome back to another episode of
Behind the Tech Desk.
My name is Alyssa.
My name is Dale, and today we are joined by a very special guest. It turns out we actually have two Jacobs in the room today. One is behind the camera, but more importantly, we have the Jacob right here.
Woo!
Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? What inspires you? What makes you happy?
Makes me happy.
Who are you?
I would say that music is a pretty big component of my inspiration and my happiness. So obviously I'm a I'm a Tri-4 music student here at SAE Perth. I'd probably say that music is my passion. I make like a hard dance music, I guess, which is like a form of electronic dance music. I'd say that that's probably my biggest like sort of outlet and sort of the thing I dive most of my time into nowadays.
Very cool.
Interesting. Well, that's super duper interesting. What's your artist name? Do you have a little bit of a handle you can throw out to people so they can find you on your socials?
I do. So my artist name is Silat. It's Sylat. The link for that is I actually memorized this before I left the house. https Instagram.com/accounts/Silat. Do you want to find my link tree?
Extra.
My link tree is https://link tree. I actually didn't memorize that one, but
I mean, it's amazing.
It's pretty much just Silat, everywhere.
All right, well, we're not going to put it in the description. You can just watch the video again.
Just watch the video.
Just speech to text.
That's awesome. Well, that's where you can find all of your socials. But like, what's your process for when you go to make a piece of music? Like, do you have any general place that you start from? Like, what inspires you to dig into a new track?
So a lot of it is, at the moment, I'm sort of working to a bit of a plan because I love my plans. At the moment, what I'm sort of like inspired by is this EP that I'm writing. And the idea of it is it sort of plays on contrasts. And I sort of have that going into the music that I'm making. So like, for example, I'm writing a piece of music at the moment that very much, the like cover art, the easiest way I can describe it is it has like a picture of like a silhouette of like a man holding like a child's hand. And it's very much like if anyone else was to see that, it would be very much like a father with his son. But the sort of spin that I've put on it is like an older version of like a man with his childhood version, and they're sort of walking through this album cover, which is like this landscape, and the whole sort of imagery of that is what I'm putting into the music. So the way that I would make the music for something like that, which is what I'm in the process of doing, I have, I guess you could say just like lots of different templates and things that I've built, different instruments and stuff that I know are going to be my foundations. And then I'm sort of working with those and making small changes because I've basically configured them to make my creative process as frictionless and as efficient as possible. And then it's sort of working with various reference tracks for things like structuring and like different sounds that I want to have and different emotions that I want to sort of draw out. That's really boring,
awesome.
but that's sort of basically the gist.
That's really cool. I think you've touched on something that's really, really important during the music creative process is like having that emotion behind your tracks and things like that. And it really seems like you've really thought about what message you want to deliver to the people who listen to it. And I guess also what kind of message you want to deliver to yourself through the creative process, which is really, really cool. I'm super duper interested to listen to it.
You're a Tri-4 student, so how do you find campus life? How do you juggle with your own you're doing your own music stuff, and then how do you juggle with all of the content in the unit? So
Oh wow, that's so many questions. That's all right.
I was explaining it.
I know, but I forgot half of it. It's all right. I remembered. I could remember the link. I guess campus life is quite interesting at the moment. There's obviously all the Tri-1s, and they're Tri-1s, they're still finding their feet and they're still figuring out what they want to do and what they want to study, and the kind of, especially in the music and audio sector, whether they want to produce, whether they want to create, and what they want to create if they want to create. I think campus life is quite unique. I think it really does in some ways it really does promote like creativity and sort of like a mutual sort of collaborative space, I guess. And I'd say that Campus Live is largely responsible for the success of, you know, several of my tracks from a like quality standpoint, because it's allowed me to collaborate with other people that I don't have classes with, and it's allowed me to meet people that are like me, which was a large reason as to, or sort of a large motivator for me coming here in the first place, I guess. What was the second half of the question? Sorry,
Even I forgot.
Okay. Yikes. No, that's probably what I'd comment on Campus Life. I'd say, it's got some really, it's got a wide array of people, and I'd say that's really, really unique and cool.
Yeah, that's really good.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love your answer to that. That's super duper cool. And like that's so much a massive part of like doing your work and things like that is being able to bounce off other creatives and things like that. It really helps you grow and not only have something to reach for, but to just like have something to bounce your ideas off of, to let them sort of bounce around amongst a whole bunch of different people who are like-minded. So that's really, really cool. But like when you're not making music, what's something that you like to do? Are you someone who watches a lot of movies, or does music control your entire life? I don't know.
Let's go.
I'm not allowed to swear, am I? Okay, sorry. I'll refrain. No,
It's just Jacob talking to Jacob.
Yeah, so my brief was very comprehensive. I like knew what I was. Yeah, real. Anyway, no. So I'd probably say that apart from music, my whole life is kind of orientated around at the moment. My calendar is very much structured around both music creation, but also like learning like different techniques and also expanding into different areas of like musical success. So I spend a lot of time learning about various marketing strategies, different tactics to take on things like short form content as a way to like promote artistry and events and things like that. I'm also a DJ, so I spend like a fair amount of time sort of prepping sets and performing those as well. Pretty much my whole life is pretty much music. I do a lot of like exercise and stuff, which I think ties quite well into the music because it sort of clears my mind, and then I go in with like a sort of a healthier mindset. And I know that for music especially, it's a very in some cases it can be a very like sit down, not doing a lot of movements. I find that really like that sort of contrast puts me in a much better mindset, and I feel
almost
much
like
more
therapeutic.
Yeah,
in a way.
exactly.
Like a
for
getaway.
sure. Yeah, exactly. So that's pretty much my life at the moment. It's just 7 days of that.
That's awesome. Do you think like the music that you make is something that you would listen to while you're exercising and things like that?
Yeah.
That's pretty much it's like it's a whole culture. I don't think it's not a mainstream thing, especially not in Perth. But the music that I create is very much sort of, I don't want to say gym bro culture because that's really cringe, and I feel like a lot of that is like toxic crap. But it's very much like it's extremely dynamic in terms of the like emotions that are conveyed, and it's the types of instruments like incredibly like smooth, like pianos and violins and orchestral elements going into incredibly abrasive sort of leads that I've built that have like 130 saw waves that have all been tuned specifically so that way it creates a very full but controlled sound. So
that sounds really cool. I really like what you like. I really like the thought that you can really see that you've put into the music that you make, and I you can really see like the inspiration sort of radiating off of you. Like you know the things that you like, you know what you want to create, and you've really done that market research and you've done all that work to try and figure out how you're going to get to that stage. And I think that's really inspiring. I'm not someone who listens to a whole lot of that music, but like I used to work in clubs and things like that, so I do have like a bit of a love for drum and bass and hardstyle and things like that. Sitting in there, which I don't know if that face was like I hate you.
No, it's just drum and bass, man. But it's fair. So I understand.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, that's
cool.
cool.
I have like a bit of an underground love for that. So I guess I can kind of resonate with some of what you're saying there. So that's really, really cool.
That's sick. That's awesome. I think. It depends who you speak to, but I think there are some people that are, especially in those scenes, there are some people who are very, I don't want to say FL Studio. I'm not going to say that actually. It's just there are people that are very much like in it for the fame, I guess, and then there are people who are in it for the passion. And I think that, especially you probably see that if you're working in sound as well, you know the performers that just get around it and they put that energy back out there that the audience gives to them, and then there are the people that kind of just stand there, and it's like, well, you're obviously friends with the promoter, but you're not really
invested in it.
Exactly.
And you can really see that, I think, which is really cool.
Yeah, no, it's interesting, and I'm very much trying to incorporate sort of elements of my like past music stuff. Yeah. So before I came to SAE, I wasn't like involved. I wasn't going to do music full time, but my parents very much grew us up in a household of classically trained musicians. So I've done classical piano for maybe 15 years, and then I'd done like classical and jazz saxophone for maybe 8, to the point where I was like playing in different states across the country in competitions, because as like a soloist and that sort of stuff, I was all right. So it's sort of like I bring that experience of like the music theory and the understanding of chord structures, and also that side of the emotional stuff, with the sort of music that I grew up listening to from my dad, who was hella into progressive trance. And it's sort of just the amalgamation of all of those, which everyone is just an amalgamation of all of their influences. But I feel like when people hear that, they're like, oh, now it makes so much more sense why his music like has all of these different things, because it's like it's very much my background, I guess you could say.
That's really good.
That's super interesting how you've talked about like learning so much of that classical instrument stuff, and then like also pulling, I guess, what your dad's inspiration was with trance. I was going to ask you as my next question, like how you took something like the classical music and how you got to making the music that you make now. That's super interesting. That's really awesome.
I think there are lots of people who are classically trained, but I think that they sort of find their like genres through like revolt, whereas mine was very much like we'd be going to school and he'd be playing something that his mate had heard at like a bush doof, and it was like I grew up on like DJ Sammy. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of like dun, 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 which is like happy house kind of happy dance sort of stuff, and it was very much like this is sick, you know, like and then it just got heavier, progressive house to hardstyle to Frenchcore, and then to up tempo, and then back, because I realized that was like too far. But
was that a journey that you felt that you took, or was that something that your dad went on and you were there? Like,
no, he was like, he stayed in his like lane, if that makes sense. I feel like people as they get older, they tend to have like their like tastes. I'm sure, like you know, as I'm sure both of you guys would have. You have like an evolution over time, and then a few years it like stays the same, and it doesn't really progress too much comparatively to the first bit. But I'd say no, it was never like a forced thing. I think when I show my parents my music, especially my mom, she like listens to the like super ambient, super atmospheric stuff. She's like, this is beautiful. And then I have this this kick drum come in that it has like 6 distorters with 3 EQs that I've like built in this chain. And it's just the most like abrasive thing. It sounds like a dish being slammed onto the floor. She's like, oh, why don't you ruin it? You know?
Mom's like, oh, what is this? What is this?
Exactly.
What's all this noise?
Yeah, real. So it's very much not a forced thing. If it was a forced thing,
this isn't a phase, Mum.
Yeah, real. No. It's not a phase. Feels bad. It's not a phase, I swear. It's never going away. Yeah, but real. No, it's cool. It's cool. And yeah, there's not a lot of people on campus that are writing stuff like that at the moment, which I think is interesting, but also in Perth, it's not super big. I think they're very niche scenes, so they kind of they live in their own spaces. And I'm sure you guys would be in your, obviously you're in your niche scenes as well.
To be honest, like if you have your own genre, or you're making, like, it can make you stand out, and everyone's like, oh, what is this? What is this music? What sort of genre is this? You know, like, I would say it's a great opportunity for you to like introduce that genre here in Perth, and it's just like incorporating classical music into, you know, your hard style dance, which is like a really amazing thing. And I can't wait for you to release all of your music, sir.
We'll see. Yeah, no, there's certainly a perspective on it. I think, I think it comes with its like ups and downs. I think that you never see lineups of people that make the music I do, or not many people are making like even like super close to what I want to make. But it's very much like you don't see like an artist that in brackets at the end of the name has AUS. They're all like. They all have like the abbreviation for the Netherlands and like, oh, shit, I'm not going to be able to remember. It's basically all the Northern European countries. Yeah. It's very much like that. And it's like, well, where are the Australian guys? And it's like, we're all playing in the drum and bass stuff. You look at the London lineups and there's like Australian guys in there, and in the house scene, there are some really big guys, especially out of Perth. There's loads of guys that came out of Perth and went up in like the house scenes, but not in hard dance, because most people, I feel like they just give up, because it's you know, there's only 1 or 2 clubs in Perth that even play it regularly, and then there's only one events group that basically controls all the major events in Perth. And so unless you're in with those guys, it's very difficult to actually break into the scene, I guess you could say.
Yeah, break it away, sir.
Break away. Check out our latest song, guys. Except it's like 8 months old now, but they're crazy.
Well, thank you so much for coming onto the podcast. It's been super interesting to hear your story and like all the things that inspire you. Make sure you check out this interview. Make sure you show Jacob. Make sure you show the other Jacob. Make sure you show me. Make sure you show your mum. Tell her it's not a phase, but most importantly, make sure you always remember the future is you.
It's you guys.
Slay.